Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Employee to Boss podcast. I'm your host, Haley Hayhurst. Today I have a really awesome episode with Jessica Stevens. She is a corporate marketer turned social media marketer, online entrepreneur, and podcast host. She is so passionate about reclaiming her time, living the life she wants, because when she was in corporate doing marketing, she was on the path to become a workaholic. And at one point, she realized she wanted to be married to a person rather than her job. And so that's really how her entrepreneurial journey started. Her husband was a pilot, and so for them to be together, she really had to take her career into her own hands and figure out exactly what she could do to be able to be with him, make her own money, and also just live the life that she's always wanted to. So she got into network marketing. We talk a lot about network marketing as a way that it can get you out of your 9-to-5, because the good thing about network marketing is it doesn't have to be your full-time career. It could literally just get you out of corporate as a side hustle. You could save up money. Whatever it is, Jessica talks all about that. Jessica is also the host of a really incredible podcast called I Just Blank Now What. The podcast is where she celebrates everyday people who have had situations happen in their life, good or bad, and how they took the necessary steps to figure out where to move on from there. So they share stories to inspire and empower other people who want to figure out the answer to now what. Jessica is very multi-passionate, so she's with Arbonne, but she's also a coach and speaker. So we talk about how she ties all of those things together. But what I really want you to take out of this episode is the finding your why, because that was big for Jessica. She needed to keep that in mind because she was a director getting like a corporate paycheck consistently. And so it's hard if you lose track of your why to leave consistency. So we talk a lot about why keeping your why is so important, and also just the process of getting into network marketing, and then also the concept that your mouth is your business. And that's really true, because if I didn't tell people what I do, I would have no clients. And so it's the same for you. Tell people what you do. So let's get right into this episode with Jessica. I know you'll love it. I'm so excited to have Jessica on the show today. If you want to start off with telling the audience about yourself, your background, and your business, they would love to hear.
Well, thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm so grateful to be here. I always love showing up on somebody else's show and pouring into a new audience. So thanks for having me. A little bit about me. So my background is in marketing and advertising. I had a 15-year career in that industry, which I absolutely loved. It was super fun, really exciting. Got to do cool things like shoot TV commercials on top of mountains in Chile and travel and work on big global brands. And that experience led me down a path to wanting to do my own business and create something for myself. And the path that I used to do that was social marketing. So I transitioned from being a corporate marketer to a social marketer and use that amazing industry and business to transition myself out of the 9-to-9 grind into entrepreneurship.
I was looking on your LinkedIn, and you have such an extensive background in marketing and have held actually a lot of director positions as well, which is awesome. That's awesome to see that you had those positions and then went into entrepreneurship. But I'd love to hear about kind of the journey you were on and what your final push was to leave, that 9-to-5 world and go into entrepreneurship, because I know it can be hard, especially at that director position with that amazing, like, consistent paycheck to something that maybe isn't as consistent as in the beginning, but can grow into whatever you want it to be.
Yeah, absolutely. So it can be harder for, career professionals who have a very established career, earning the money, right? The 6-figure income gets really nice. And, but what most people don't see is what we have to do to have that life, to have the car, to have the condo, to have the, everyone used to say, oh my gosh, Jess, you have the ideal single girl in the city life. We want it. I'm like, you want it until you know what I have to do to have it. And that was work a lot. And so the industry of advertising is a breeding ground for workaholics. And I was becoming one. And I was approaching the age in which I really wanted to be married to a human and realize that I was married to my career. So that was kind of like the first little nudge for me of like, maybe I don't want to, be here forever. But again, when you've been in it for so long and your blinders are on and you just keep going, right? And everyone else around you is doing the same thing. You're like, okay, I guess this is just it. It wasn't until I actually got married and had that life partner that I was now trying to figure out how to squeeze into my 80-hour work week that I realized like, oh, something's got to give, right? Like, Jess, it's not just you anymore. You have this amazing man in your life and you got married to be together. So you guys need to figure out how to do that. And the reason that was such a, big thing for us is that we were in a long distance relationship. So when I met my husband, we did not live in the same country. And that long distance relationship made me realize that I didn't own my time. Somebody else did. They told me where I had to be, when I had to be there, how long I had to show up for. And the job was becoming less fun, to be honest, but I needed it. And, I needed it to help him get into the country. So when he finally arrived 2+ years later, that is when I kind of could let out a breath, being like, okay, he's here. Now what? Right? Like, now he's here. What do I want to do? And the next kind of nudge for me too, to make the change and make the transition, is my husband's career. So my husband is a pilot, and I had that aha moment when he finally got here that he was never going to be here. Like, the nature of his career was always going to be sending him away. And I had to physically show up to this office every day, which I started to refer to as jail. And so that truly was the thing that kind of really nudged me and pushed me to say, you need to look at another path, another way to have a career, have a living, so you can have a life with this wonderful man. Because we had cleared so many hurdles up until that point to even just get him here.
Yeah.
We needed to be together, because the longest amount of time that he and I spent together in one sitting was 3.5 weeks before one of us would leave the other person. So being together was really appealing for me. And I knew that staying in that corporate career and him being a pilot, we likely weren't going to have a lot of together time. So what could I do that could give me the opportunity to pick up and go and travel and follow him, if that's what it meant for him to be a pilot? Because, they can get based anywhere, right? In another city or another country. And I wanted the ability to follow him, but still have something of my own. And that is when the universe blessed me and conspired with me and put network marketing in my path for me to learn about that amazing industry and how it could be used as my transition vehicle from where I was to where I wanted to be. Yeah. So really, getting married and having my life change was what I needed to start looking at changing my career.
Totally. And I mean, it's never a good thing to think of your office as a jail. I have noticed that sometimes, even in my business, I have my own business. And if I push myself too hard and start experiencing that burnout, I'm like, I just need to take some time off. But in a 9-to-5, it's not, you can't just pick up and leave, right?
Yeah.
And so you were introduced into network marketing, you left your corporate job. What was the transition there like?
Definitely not overnight. So I want to dispel the myth that social marketing is you sign up and all of a sudden you're making all the money. Right? No, no, right? It takes time, it takes effort, just like any other business. You have to grow it, you have to nurture it, you have to foster it. But the benefit is you can do it part-time alongside of what else you have going on in your life. So I kept my corporate career because I needed to. I was the only one making money at the time, with a new immigrant husband. He didn't find a job as soon as he arrived. So I needed that salary. I needed that job, but I also knew that I needed something else. So the benefit for me and why I chose network marketing as my vehicle was because I could do it part-time alongside of my job. And that's what I did. I still worked like a crazy person, but then I carved off hours and said, okay, this is for your future. This is for your business. And over the course of 2 years, side hustling it, I grew my business to the size where I personally could make some choices. And, the choice that I made was, okay, let's walk away from this. But other people love doing what they're doing, and they love having a business, and they want to do both. Great. That's the other best part about it, is that it's kind of like choose your own adventure. You do as little or as much of it as you want to put into it to get out, as little or as much as you want out of it. And you fit it into your already existing life. My personal choice was like, hey, I'm not loving what I'm doing, so I'm going to leave it. But if people love what they do and they just want extra, they just want a community, they just want to have, extra fun money, or, pay down debt, or whatever it is, then that side hustle can help them achieve those financial goals maybe a little bit faster than if they didn't have it.
Absolutely. And for you, it seems like since you were getting into that workaholic type of phase of life, you needed to keep that goal in mind, that goal that you wanted to be with your husband, even though it took 2 years to transition out of corporate into, network marketing. You had to keep that goal in mind. Do you have any advice for someone who maybe is trying to get out of their 9 to 5 and they keep losing sight of that goal? Because it's so easy to be sucked back in when you're surrounded by people who are working as hard as you, harder, and like more just keeps getting piled on your plate in the corporate world.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any advice for those people?
Yeah. For me, it was why, like what's why and what,
Yeah.
why are you doing this, and what do you get? Right. So the why for me was I wanted to support my husband first and foremost, right? Like I probably would never have even considered this for myself if it hadn't been needing to support his career,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that was like, I'm the person who, if somebody else needs me to do something that will benefit them, it's like, sign me up, right? Like I'll do whatever I need to do to help further someone else along, right? I'm that person. So that was kind of the impetus. So why I was doing it was for him. What I got out of it was for me.
Yeah.
What I got out of it was time with him. What I got out of it was becoming the healthiest version of myself. What I got out of it was the financial ability to do passion projects that I always wanted to do but never had time for. What I got out of it was time, flexibility, purpose, and accomplishment. But why I did it is why I wanted it was to have a life with him.
Do you want to start growing your business rapidly in a really fun way? Do you want to increase your visibility and profits? I have just the thing for you. My course, Great Guesting: How to Grow Your Business Through Being a Podcast Guest, is now available, and it's guaranteed to get you on podcasts. Do you want to connect with more clients, share your story, make stronger connections, and grow your audience? But do you find that you're second guessing yourself, are indecisive on a topic because you're into so many things, and thinking, is this even possible? You'll love this step-by-step guide on how to be a podcast guest. We go over 6 lessons that are knowing your story, narrowing down the topic, finding podcasts to be on, setting up your audio, preparing to record, and of course, marketing, because that's what I'm all about. Being a guest can be fun, but if you don't have a plan to go with it, you're really just spending the hour talking. You're not moving your business forward, and that's exactly what this course is designed to teach you. You can find this course on my website at Espresso Podcast Production, and I guarantee you that you will be a guest on podcasts in no time. Absolutely. And going into that, you say that you were here to help others. Like at the drop of a coin, you will help others, which I think really speaks a lot of volume to what you do now with not only network marketing, but you also do coaching and you're also a speaker.
Mm-hmm.
And so with all these different passions you have for your business, and like you're saying, you got to do some of these passion projects, how do you tie it all together under one brand of your name? Because, network marketing and coaching, speaking and coaching can go together pretty well, but network marketing and coaching definitely takes some time to blend into one. So how did you do that? And what was your inspiration behind that?
So, the network marketing business that I am part of is a product-based business, right?
Mhm.
So it's in the health and wellness space. There's products there from skincare to nutrition and all of that stuff. And I never labeled myself as a product person,
Mm,
really. Yes, I used products. We all do. We all brush our teeth and wash our hair. But I wasn't like a junkie. Like I wasn't like, ooh, after this brand and that brand and all the things. So walking into the business, while I loved the product and I used the product and I believed in the product and the formulations and all of that stuff, it was not the thing that I loved the most about the business. What I loved most about the business was the ability to help other people,
I think that's a
right?
really interesting point.
Because I could, yes, products were sold and that's how we get paid, right? But the underpinning of that is how can this product help somebody, right? So whether that be helping somebody clear up their skin and feel beautiful, or help them with their healthy habits or whatever. So the underpinning of why I was so successful is because it was all based in service. How can I
Mhm.
help? And the product's great, amazing, but I knew from day one of the best product this brand has is the opportunity for other people to learn how to use the business to help them get what they want, help them pay for hockey, help them pay for daycare, help them, pay down their debts, pay off their student loans, put a down payment on a house, support family members, like whatever they needed to use that money for was going to be more beneficial to them than any mascara or lip gloss ever could be.
Totally.
Not that there was anything wrong with helping somebody use clean product, sustainable product, and get toxins out of their system by switching their brand. That's great, that's awesome. But the helping the people. And so coaching became something that was part of my business from day one, helping other people how to use the brand as their vehicle to get them from where they are to where they wanted to be, even though their destination was completely different than my destination. It didn't matter. It was still the same process. So that's how coaching started for me. And it's the part that I love about the business the most and still do. So I naturally fell into the coaching space because of the business, because you have to help other people. You have to teach people what you do so that they can do it, and it's duplicatable. But here's the other thing, is like it's you, it's not the brand, because there's thousands and thousands of other consultants out there, part of your brand and company, and also other brands and companies. So you can't lead with the brand, because really they could get the product from anybody. But what you have to lead with is yourself. Why you got to paint the vision for people, where you're going, what you're going to do, what you're going to achieve, and invite them to be like, you want to come along? Because I'm going up the mountain. So if you want to come up the mountain too, let's lock arms and go up the mountain together.
Right.
So that's my number one advice for anybody who wants to use social marketing as their vehicle to get, as their transition vehicle out of the corporate into entrepreneurship. Highly recommend it. It's the best business school boot camp you could ask for. Is don't rely on the product or the company brand or the company reputation. That's all supporting. Like, focus on what is it about you that they would want to join your team, that they would want to have you as their consultant because you're going to give them the best customer service. What is it about? So sell yourself first. And the brand and the products are all just the tools in your toolbox to help you help people in the best way.
Oh my gosh, I love that, because that can be said for so many different industries as well. Like,
Mhm.
I was just hired by a podcast host to edit her podcast, and she's currently working with, a big company. And she was just frustrated with them because things weren't going right here, there, whatever, it doesn't matter. But what stood out to her about me was that I actually care about the success of my clients and I want to actually build like a relationship with them. Whereas these big companies, they have so many other people to worry about. I only take on as many clients as I can worry about. That's like my big thing. And so just like that, they're working with me because of what I do, but also because of who I am. If my client and me did not get along, we wouldn't be working together. So
Yeah,
that's a big part of business.
it is. It's the relationship, right? So this
Yeah.
is a relationship building business, which people don't really realize off the
Mhm.
bat, but it is because people do business with the others that they know, they like, and they trust. Um,
Absolutely.
and building that trust and building that relationship. And then when it's like that, it's not about a sale, it's about a service.
Oh, yes. I like that.
And, asking for the sale becomes less icky, especially for those who are new to the sales space. It's like, oh my God, I feel bad. I'm like, why do you feel bad about offering someone an opportunity to use something that's going to help them?
Exactly.
It's an offer. If they pick it up or they don't pick it up, that's not on you. It's their decision. So don't feel bad about offering it. The same way you shouldn't, they're not going to feel bad by saying no.
Yeah. Absolutely. So it seems like with all this hard work, everything fell into place one thing after another with getting into network marketing, starting your coaching program, getting, helping people. Is that kind of how it happened? Like everything one after another just started working out?
Yes, it was one after the other because I was really mindful about my time, and
Hmm.
you know, being good at something. You have to put a certain amount of time and energy and
Yes.
effort into
Yeah.
it, right? And so it wasn't until I got to the space where I'm like, okay, this is a well-oiled machine for me now. I can divert a little bit of energy and attention away from building this business to another opportunity to create more that complements what I'm doing. So it was essentially a way for me to create other marketing channels. Like, how
Hmm.
can I meet more people? How can I help more people to bring
Hmm.
them into my network so that there's something that I have that may be of interest? They're kind of all the things that you participate in as a business owner are essentially lead generators, right? Because you're building relationships with different people in different capacities. Like sometimes it's a friendship, sometimes it's personal or you're professional, doesn't matter. You're building relationships. But that network you're cultivating is essentially going to benefit you in some way, in some area of your business, because your network is your net worth, whether you're in a career or if you're an entrepreneur.
Hmm.
Because the reality is most people find their next gig and their next job through somebody they know.
Yeah.
You're
Referrals.
likely
Everything's
going
referral based.
Exactly. You're likely going to find your next customer or your next business partner or whatever through your network because somebody knows somebody and who knows somebody, right?
Totally. Yeah.
And they may not be in the market for what you have to offer when you first meet them, but 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road, 10 years down the road, you're still doing the thing. They're like, oh, Haley, I'm ready for her now. And she's been hanging out with me for the last 10 years, supporting me and commenting and helping and being this great person. And I've been watching her. Yeah, I'm ready. Like I've had people watch me for 3+ years before saying yes to joining me or
Hmm.
be even trying a single product that I had to offer.
Yeah.
Like they watched me for 4+ years before they tried their very first product that I had to offer.
That's an important point to note because I cannot tell you how many people have, I have a client who does branding and people just watch her and they know who she is, but then they're not ready to make that investment. Or in your case, maybe they're not ready to try their product or get the help.
Maybe they don't
But one
have
day they will
have
be.
it in the budget to, hire that service or outsource
Exactly.
that service. But hey, once they get their footing and realize, hey, I hate doing this and it is more valuable to me to pay somebody else to do it than spend my time and energy on it. Okay, now I'm gonna hire that person.
Yeah. And especially with your marketing background, I'm sure you can talk about this more, but it takes people a while to, continuously see things before they're like, maybe that's for me. And you never know what post you'll make or what thing you'll put on your social media that will actually change someone's mind. That
Yeah.
could be like a word change, or maybe you're talking about a specific event in your life and you post about it, and that person is like, okay, I trust them now. Let me go work with them.
Yeah. It's like the stars aligning a little bit, but that's the thing about brand awareness. Okay. Brand awareness is the intention of it is to get people familiar with the brand and comfortable with the brand and start trusting what this brand represents and what it stands for, so that when the time is right and they need that a thing and that brand offers it up, and they're like, okay, yeah, that's the name, right? So what people don't realize is that it normally takes 7 to 20 interactions with a brand before anyone actually decides to do anything with the information.
Mm-hmm.
So you driving down the street and you seeing a billboard for what's a like a local store where you live?
Right by where I live, there's this big PCC poster. So it's like a fancy grocery store, like a Whole Foods.
Like a Whole Foods. Okay. So they're new in town, right? Like this store just rolls up into town, sets up shop. No one has never heard of this store before because it's the first one in the town. Yes, there's going to be a grand opening and a whatever and a sale that might get some curious people in there being like, oh, let's go check it out. But for the other people, they're going to be like, I don't even know what that is.
Right.
They're going to drive by that billboard over and over and over and over and over again. And then it's slowly going to filter into their brain like, oh, PPC, PPC, PPC. And then they're going to go to some dinner party and someone's going to be making something. And the lady's going to be like, oh my goodness, this tastes so good, blah, blah. You're like, oh, it's this dressing that I got from the new store down the street called PPC. They're like, oh, I've heard of that.
Right.
Let me walk in the store, right? Like, so it takes a long time, especially with all of the advertising and all the messages. Like our brain can only hold in so much. And so it's that repetition is really important, because if someone sees something once, it is in and out and gone, but they need to see it over and over and over and over again for it to slowly seep into our memory.
I love that.
And yeah, like literally 7 to 12 interactions. And we're talking like little messages here, little messages there, for anyone actually to remember the brand long enough to make it a consideration for when they need that thing.
I love that. So for anyone listening, keep posting on your social media. There's always times in business that things are just, there's no growth. Maybe it's just like a moment that things just are not working out. And it's happened to me before, there's been times where I've gone, 2 months without getting a new client, but I kept posting. And then I had like the biggest month of my whole business, like on that third month.
Consistency. And the other thing is follow up.
Yeah.
So for entrepreneurs, you have to follow up with people over and over and over again. And they're like, oh my goodness, but I feel like I'm bothering them. You're not bothering them. They don't remember, and you need to follow up. They're busy. They got a lot on their brain. So you following up is really important. So here's the thing for salespeople out there. Most salespeople stop following up after the second or third reach out. And the sales and we're talking about the big ones too, do not happen until the 9th or 10th follow-up.
Wow.
So think about how many sales you've left on the table because you stopped following up with somebody after the third time.
Yeah. I saw someone post something about, very similar to this, where we always feel like we're bothering them when we follow up, maybe like the fifth, sixth time, we're like, oh my gosh, they're just not interested. But like I said, people are busy. People forget, if you're reaching out to other business owners, busy people. And so just continuously doing that follow-up, that's a great statistic to know. Thank you so much for sharing. I also want to talk about your podcast, because that's another great way to grow your visibility. And that's kind of where I'm pivoting this podcast to, talking about businesses, how to start your business, but also how you can use a podcast to grow your business. And so podcasting, coaching, speaking, network marketing, all those go together. You can create commercials. There's ways to tie it together. So I'd love to hear unique ways that you use your podcast to engage your audience and grow your business.
Yeah. So the reason I started my podcast was multi-layered, right? But the first one was I wanted to create a platform to share stories and lessons to help people, right? Like that is the mission of helping, making people realize every day they wake up, no matter what life throws at them, they can figure it out. And here's a whole whack of other people who have had life come at them and they figured it out. So I can too. That's like the base. That's the core. Like I wanted to be able to reach more people. And the podcast was a simple way for me to create content that could be shareable and spreadable amongst anyone and everyone. The second reason I chose to do a podcast was for networking, right? Like I have all of these amazing guests come on the show and I've built this relationship with them. And then they start sharing, who I am with their network because, they're sharing the episode and whatever. And I get to meet all these other amazing people in their network. And I'm a professional networker. Like that is the heart of my business. If you're not talking and meeting people, you don't have a business. And so it was a way for me to network, right? And meet new people outside of my regular circles. And the third was for people to get to know me. Because in this space of social media, we have Instagram and TikTok and stories and all the things. It's how people get to know you who are not necessarily physically in your presence all the time. And the podcast was just another way for me to let people know who I am, what I believe in, what I love, what I care about. And so as they listen to the show and they listen to my personal stories and they listen to me interviewing guests, they feel like they know me. Well, they don't feel, they actually do know me right. to a sense, so that when something pops up that they're like, oh, yes, I've been listening to Jessica's podcast for so long. She's helped me in so many different ways, through all these different things. And now I have this thing. Yeah, let me reach out to Jess because she is very knowledgeable. And so I got this thing and she might have the answer. And if she doesn't have the answer, I know that Jess's network is pretty massive and there's probably somebody in Jess's network who has the answer that she can connect me with. Yeah. Right. So that was it. It was a place for me to be creative. It was a place for me to share lessons from my own life and those of my guests. And it was a way for me to meet new people and just inspire en masse and build my brand.
I love that. That's exactly why people should have podcasts, because like you said, I love that where you said, if you're not talking, you're not selling, or you don't have a business, because you actually do have to engage with other people to make sales, no matter what industry you're in.
Someone told me when I first started my network marketing business years ago, and she's like, your mouth is your business, right? If you are not like, it should never be closed, right? Like you should always be in conversations with people and talking about it, but also listening. Like you need to listen so that you can share appropriately. But she's like, yeah, your business is your mouth.
Yeah. I have this challenge for myself that whenever I'm feeling like, I don't know, just in a weird mood, I'm like, I'm going to go outside and meet two people. That's just my goal, to get out there and like talk to people. And, sometimes I talk about my business and sometimes I talk about, my life, but I've met such amazing people through doing it that I wouldn't have done unless I like actually pushed myself to get out there and use my mouth to speak words to other human beings.
I used to have a little mantra that I used to say to myself. in the early days. I still do it a little bit now, but like I would like leave every day. I left my house because I was still working at the time. And I would just like leave home and I'd look at myself in the mirror by the front door and been like, today's the day I may meet my new best friend.
Oh, I love
Not that
that.
I was looking for a new best friend by any
Right.
means, but it was just my way of saying, Jessica, go out and have a conversation with somebody on a deeper level that a friendship could be formed.
Mm,
So it was no longer just saying thank you to the cashier or
right.
the barista at Starbucks or whatever and having small talk, like engage with somebody for the opportunity for a friendship to possibly form.
Exactly. Like
Mhm.
having those deep well, not even, it doesn't have to be deep, just those open conversations, those ones that
Complimentary, yeah, one that
exactly.
sparks something versus thank you, here's your change, thank
Right.
you, have a nice day, like great weather, like no one likes small talk, right?
No.
So do deep talk.
Deep talk. I like that. That should be
Mhm.
everyone's goal for the rest of 2022. Well, I've loved this conversation. Is there anything else that you want to talk about before we head off?
I think we covered a lot.
Yeah, we did.
We covered a lot about my past and
Hmm.
why I started. I am currently 7 years into my business now. It looks extremely different than it did when I first started, and I've layered a lot of things on as I've gone, as we talked about. The thing about business too is that it has cycles, right? There's ups and downs and valleys and ebbs and flows, but there's also like momentum
Hmm.
that builds. So keep going. Don't stop, right? It's a lot harder to do the stop and go, stop and go, stop and go versus just keeping a steady pace. So consistency will always outpace intensity. So I tell that to people. I'm like, don't like go sprint and then be gassed and then you have to like stand on the side of the road and like pant and catch your breath. Just like jog
Right.
and just keep going, right? At a pace in which you can hold, that so that you don't have burnout and that you
Hmm.
don't get tired and that you don't need to rest for so long. Like you can take a breath but don't stop, because when you stop you actually takes more energy to restart and start again and start again. So
Yes.
I'm gonna that's my number one advice is when you start, you know, slow and steady is a good speed. And then you'll pick up momentum and keep going. And then it's going to go at a speed where you couldn't even stop it if you wanted to.
That's the goal for everyone, right?
Mhm.
Awesome. Well, this conversation was so fun. I would love it if you could leave us with 3 actionable steps that the audience can start today to follow in your footsteps, whether it be network marketing, whether it be coaching, whether it be transitioning out of 9 to 5, whatever it may be. What action steps do you want to leave the audience with?
Action steps. Okay. So if you are in a career right now that you are not necessarily 100% in love with, but you don't know what you want to do next, absolutely be open to a network marketing company and brand as your transition vehicle out. It is going to teach you a lot about business, but give you the support of a team and a company. So it's kind of the best of both worlds where you're not like completely on your own, but you're independent,
Hmm.
right? So you're under that umbrella of a brand with the support, they do a lot of the heavy lifting for you so you can focus in on, the other areas. So be open to that. And when you're looking for a brand to partner with, find one that aligns with your values and aligns with your lifestyle. Picking something that you're going to naturally and easily be able to talk and share about, because you already love it. Whether you were going to get paid to do it or not, would you talk about this product? Would you talk about this service? Would you talk about what this company stands for? Right? So that is my first action step: is do your research and find a brand that aligns with you. And second is to start before you're ready, because no one's fully ready,
Hmm.
right? You get ready, you get better as you go. You can never become an expert in something by reading. That's the challenge. That's like the unfortunate part about higher education and the focus on academics is like, it's in a textbook. You can't you can't learn what you need to learn reading the textbook in a class. You need to actually go out and practically do it. So you got to start before you're ready and be open to making a lot of mistakes and failing forward. And the third is believe that you can do it, right? Belief is that superpower that really can fuel anything. And if you believe it's possible, you are 50% more likely to actually achieve it, or some crazy number like that, versus other people believing in you and you don't. Like if an entire arena of people believe that you can do something, but you don't, you won't do it. But if you believe in yourself and you have an arena of naysayers, they got nothing on you because you know you can do it. In the ideal world, you believe and they believe, and then that's 10 times better. But you gotta believe in yourself. You gotta believe it's possible. And even if you don't have that belief in the beginning, borrow that belief from somebody else you trust and siphon it off of them and use their belief in you to at least get you going until you start believing in yourself. So surround yourself with other people whom will prop you up and believe in you. That, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So be really, really discerning on who you're hanging out with.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing those. How can people find you and work with you if they want to get into network marketing, or maybe, work directly with you through network marketing?
I love to hang out on social media. So on Instagram and TikTok, it's jess.loves.life. You can find me there. I'm also, I got a website, jessicastevens.ca. You can pop me a note over there. That's where all of the podcast episodes live. Or you can search up my show on any of the podcast platforms. I just blank now what? Listen to an episode, pop me a note, a DM. I love to follow up with listeners and hear what they think about the show. And I'm always looking for cool guests with cool stories. So you can find me in any of those places.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. It was so good to connect with you. I am just so thankful that you're here today.
Thanks, Haley. Talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to the Employee to Boss podcast. If you made it to the end of this episode, I hope that you implement the actionable steps from this week's experts so you can get started with your business today. Please rate, review, and subscribe to the Employee to Boss podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. It helps more than you could ever imagine. Remember, a little progress each day leads to big results. We come out with a new episode every Tuesday. To access our show notes, transcripts, and courses, please check out espressopodcastproduction.com.